I want to show you my chai cup. This is a little, can you see?
Oh,
I
pretty.
have this little
it's so
set
pretty.
of, these are from the 50s.
I was gonna say, is that one of those 50s like
It is, I have a
celestial
whole
type?
set. I can't remember which one it is. I have a whole set. I have to admit, I'm kind of a junkie for kitchen sets.
Yeah.
I can't help it. I I can't help it
Mine
because
in my
they're
kitchen is,
useful.
and mine in my kitchen is tiny little spoons. Teak wood, um, stainless steel, silver, whatever, this little sample spoons. I've got an entire little bin in my drawer full of
Oh
them.
boy.
They're so fun, especially to eat honey out of a little tiny spoon.
Exactly, exactly. Or I taste test little things, which, I got
Yeah,
to be mindful. I don't taste test food a lot just because it does affect your agni when you're cooking.
it does.
So you got to be careful. Like chefs cook all the time. They're tasting, tasting, tasting all the
Mm-hmm.
time. And then they never eat a full meal.
Mm-hmm.
I've watched this in kitchens. They really never sit down and eat a full meal because they've been snacking all day long, try tasting their food as well as just grabbing as they walk by something that's being cooked or prepared. Go for
Pat told us not to snack,
Yep. Yeah.
but sometimes you have to have a snack. You have to have a date with ghee in it or something.
There you go. Yeah. Yep. All right.
Shall we start?
Should we start? Yes, absolutely. So, welcome to our first chit chat and chai within the
Yay! With our little
Blissful Living
cups.
Academy. Um, our goal is to try to host a little get together within the community every couple months, every other month, just so that we can get together and check in with each other, see what's going on, get to know you all, and really make this feel like it's a community as well. So we thought we'd kick off the new year and with a new activity like this. And we just thought this one would be a good one to get our audience to know Kathleen and myself, why we started this group, maybe a little bit of our origin story down these paths of the practices that we embrace and are looking to bring forward to our group here and our community as it grows. But also didn't share what we're up to for the rest of the year, how the community works a little bit, and start getting people engaged in more places than just these chit chat and chais, which will be a blast too. But thought we'd do it that way. So Kathleen and I have been talking about getting together and teaching, and she's always putting it out there. You need to teach more. You need to teach more. You need to teach more. She's agreeing. And I would say even just the purpose of why I've been wanting to do this is not just because I feel like this is a great opportunity to share a lot of what I've integrated and how you and the rest of the community that comes along can integrate life experiences and experiences with yoga and Ayurveda. But I also see Kathleen in the same light of someone who has so much wisdom, so much experience, and just an insight that is so refined on a subtle level too, that the things she picks up on, I just think are just gems just being dropped all around us. And I would love for a place for us to collect those and share together and experience them together as well.
So I would like to just interject here that Carol and I have known each other for a while, casually at first through interactions with Kanyakumari, which was an Ayurvedic school and clinic, teaching center, pharmacy in Milwaukee. And my longtime friend, Patricia Layton, who I met in the early 80s, was there. She was teaching, and I don't know if she was doing therapies then, but she was guiding people, all of us students, in yoga and Ayurveda. And her her sadhana was to continue to teach and to um, be goofy. And she was an amazing person. And so she passed from her physical body. She's still with us and she's guiding us as we speak. Um, and so we first met, I don't know what year that was. And then Carol and I came together on and off again when the Bhavana School moved to LaGrange. So we had the Bhavana Institute for Yoga and Ayurveda. And we were doing teacher training, Ayurvedic studies, and so forth. And then later, Carol and I took CarePath, and I enjoy Carol's teaching. We had a lot of great classes at Arsha Vidya Gurukulam, and I'm encouraging her to teach in that way again the classical formulas and in Ayurveda, the science of Ayurveda. And so, as you've heard me say many times, that yoga and Ayurveda, even Sankhya, they're not different. They are blended together and have the same origin, which is life-giving interaction at all of the levels of existence, and proceeding from the subtle to the more gross, which is what we have here, the physical body, computers, all these kind of things. And so it's really, really great. We're just getting going. There's a lot of information that we have to put forth. We're trying to meet it out in a good way. Carol is an Ayurvedic chef, and that's just really a lot of fun. So on our Sunday meetings once a month, we have a small yoga class, which includes asana, and then the cooking class, which is just super fun. So that's our current format, along with this online group, which Carol is coaching me to learn how to interact more in this kind of venue. I come from a generation where we didn't have computers and had landline phones and all that kind of thing, and slowly trying to move on. It's going to pass me by, I'm sure. But
Well, you call me kiddo all the time, and yeah,
right.
but I grew up too with, the phone attached to the wall, and the only way you got privacy is if you were able to get one of those cords that were 10, 20 feet long instead of just long enough to get to from your head, the wall to your head. And computers came into my life maybe a little bit younger, but it wasn't really until college or high school that we really started using them. So just trying to stay up to date with what's going on and where it can help us, so it can help us.
It really is amazing. I mean, especially during COVID, we saw the advantage of these kind of online formats in some ways. They're limited in some ways, but it was really helpful because people could still talk to each other and so forth. And I've come to value that venue. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to stay in contact with my teacher Ramanand and the physical form, and some of Dr. Bryant and some of the really important people in my life, people that I follow.
Yeah, and for me, with that strong tie to the Shankavansya lineage of Ayurveda, Vajra Mishra was living in LA.
Mm-hmm.
And if we didn't have his teachings on podcasts, blog posts now, teachable courses. He would do, Zooms and live calls and all of that too. So technology, like anything, if we use it for the right means, it can be a benefit to us, and everything, it can be given to us as that gift, but it also can be used in the wrong way. So as long as we try to embrace how we can use these tools to reach more people, to help engage them with what we're trying to accomplish here and bring you along, I think it's a lovely advancement in life if we do it properly.
So one of the things that you just said, Carol, was to bring people along. And what we're trying to, my hope is, in this is much more of my role, which has always been my dharmic path, is to support people in their self-exploration and to help them understand. First of all, I was a very young student when I started in the early 70s. And of course, I knew what I was going for, but I didn't really know how to name it. I developed an interest as such a young person, but I didn't really know how to name what I was looking for. And somehow this idea of nonviolence crossed my path, and then I knew how to name some aspect of what I was looking for. And I had heard that yoga involved this. Now, when I asked my teacher, Ramanand Patel, like, how did this happen? How did I get to be a yoga practitioner? And he had a very traditional Indian answer. He said, well, you were a yogi in your previous lives. Now, is that possible? So, helping people sounds a little, I don't know. If people want to experience some of the profound, transcendental, even, we call them transcendental, they're transrational experiences that belong in the realm of yoga, Ayurveda, grounded in Sankhya. These experiences are there. They're very nourishing experiences. They're enlightening. You feel light. I feel lighter and stronger and more able to navigate my way through the world. And this is not something I want to keep for myself, because people shared with me. They shared freely with me. Carol and I said we were going to talk a little bit about our own experiences. I was looking for someone to teach me from the age of 15. And finally, in my very early 20s, in 1974, I found the Himalayan Institute in Minneapolis. Swami Rama and Swami Veda Bharati were there, and the other teachers. And that was like a cosmic gift that just came right there, and I was able to start my journey. And I think at that time, Swami Rama was going between various ashrams, India, Honesdale, Glenview, Minneapolis. And then Dr. Arya, who is Swami Veda Bharati, who was Dr. Arya at the time, he was giving these gigantic classes at the University of Minnesota, which is where I was in school, studying kinesiology and movement and all these kind of wonderful things. He would teach his classes called Super Conscious Meditation, and the auditorium was full. And I'm pretty sure none of us really knew what was happening to us, but it was great. And it was encouraging. And we felt light, and we felt spacious, and we felt whole and grounded. All these multiple kind of experiences at one time. And so these are some of the things that once in our understanding and my understanding, once these gifts have been given, then it is our duty to continue to share those for as long as we can. So that's a lot. That's a lot.
Yes. You used a lot of great words there too about just how you feel after these experiences. And, one word I didn't hear was the word bliss. Is that, even another word that could be used there?
Well, we do call it the Bliss Institute because, for one thing, bliss is said to be the innermost experience next to understanding the divine. So we might think of bliss as like, I have all the chocolates that I ever want, and they're all right in front of me.
And you feel great when you eat them, right? At the moment. It's a moment.
At the moment, I feel bliss. We're talking of exactly right, Carol. We're talking about a kind of bliss that is not disturbed.
Right.
So it is considered to be next to the layer, which we have to use English. We don't really have words for this, but in that interwoven existence that is next to the divine. And we know that we're close to the divine when we have these states. So that's a really good catch. Yes, it's bliss, but it's not the kind of bliss that's transitory.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like this
it's constant.
It is, yeah, because our interaction with the world can create these states of momentary bliss, or as they feel, but they don't last. And they may even have a counterbalancing to them that isn't so blissful, right? Like
those are sense-oriented.
Exactly.
Those are sense-oriented. And now there's nothing wrong with that. They are transitory. Like when I eat Carol's cooking, I go into bliss. Now, part of that is because it's just yummy. And also because I'm getting cellular nourishment. There are prayers infused. Mm-hmm. These memories of the herbs and plants, which are real ingredients also.
Yeah, little yogis they are themselves too.
Yes. And so that's there. We're not talking, nothing wrong with sensory bliss. We're talking about a different kind of bliss.
Exactly.
We're calling undisturbed bliss, which is very different. Because somebody could just come and mess up my plate of chocolates and then my bliss would be over.
All right. Or takes the last one, and where was your last
one? No, that's more like it. Who ate it? I was saving it.
Right, right. Yeah, and even in Ayurveda with, Vajra Mishra's lineage of teaching in Ayurveda, he was very different in the sense that he elevated a lot of his teachings and in our understanding of how to look at Ayurveda beyond just looking at, oh, we're doshas and what dosha am I and all of this. He really got back to the bliss or the light of the soul, and how do we allow that to be what shines forth? And that's really finding our true sense. And he always taught that one of the most profound qualities of the soul was a state of bliss. And that was a state of just calm, ease, that connection to the divine, your slice of the divine or your little gem of the divine that's in you shining forth. And that's the way I teach, I cook, I integrate even the practices in my own life, and how I just look at that opportunity for us to use this academy to do a lot of what you said too. You use the word more around doing no harm, or that yama of ahimsa. For me, mine is about asteya, which means non-stealing. So for us to have these experiences and these opportunities to teach forth and help people or guide people even how to integrate in these practices themselves, that's why I do this. And
that's a much better word. That's a much better word, guiding people, because people that want to be around us, they're the ones that should come. And I want to just comment about this Vaidya or this Rishi or this teacher of Vaidya Mishra. He was a great man, and his sensitivities were very profound. He showed us ways to help with energetic things that we were not sure what was going on. Being in his presence was really special. Mm-hmm. And he also was one of Pat's teachers. Now, I did want to just mention that in 1979, I was introduced to Guruji Iyengar, his method of teaching, and how profoundly that changed my life, because it gave another tool, gave me a great tool of self-study. And he taught in such a way, the whole Iyengar family, he taught in such a way, they teach in such a way that we are having an understanding and a connection from the cellular physical level to, again, to that inner state that is a trans-rational. It's the only way that it's a good word for it, because it approaches these places of understanding, of quietude is a really good word for it. Quietude can be in the same wavelength as bliss. So if we think of bliss, we think of maybe the Hare Krishnas, because, they're in bliss a lot. Mm-hmm. But there's also, which I love the Hare Krishna. I love Krishna, and I love the Hare Krishna people. But there's also a kind of quietude and stableness, a different kind of stableness, which is next to bliss. So it's not, I'm not explaining it well, but we'll get more to the deep recognition when we work in our asana classes. It's an amazing mode to follow. And I'm going to look for something, Carol, so go ahead. I'm going to see if I have something.
Absolutely. What can I add on to that? I think what's interesting is, as much as I hear how Guruji taught and was very much in touch with that subtle and yet just that sliver of division between our states and to the state of the divine in that state of bliss. Vaidya Mishra was very similar to that too, in his teaching. So I think that even goes back to how these practices and these studies and these things that we can integrate in our lives are so intertwined. People always would say yoga and Ayurveda are sister sciences, and I'm like, no, they're more like conjoined twins almost. You can't divide the two that easily.
No, and that is
the way to comprehend it for a while, but yet they still always come back together, and they just do a cosmic dance with each other so well.
That's exactly right. And, this sort of separation, I think I was talking to you the other day about it. Dr. Bryant was saying that these separations of what we call systems is a new concept. He said it's only 1,000 years old, which is an interesting way to frame things. But I want to read something to you that Mary, our friend and colleague and teacher, Mary Riley, was talking about, because Guruji Iyengar is known for, they call it alignment-based yoga, and it's a very sort of not well understood but she was saying that Guruji understood alignment as a living science. And she described it as alignment is a feeling of parts creating the whole, and the whole being bigger than the parts. And we feel that when this energy from the food we're eating, from the things we're experiencing, are infused. We feel that infusion of what can nourish us so that we see correctly. And I use that word with all intention. I think that not that I know correctly, but these arts and sciences know correctly, which is a big word to use, and I almost never use any words like that.
Yep. You're always very good about the choice of words and even giving me some insight of like, is that really the best word to use? And I'm like, you know what? You're right. No, that one does give a different direction of how we're trying to get our message across or what we're intending that message to be. One thing I just had this moment to want to share this, one thing about just me getting cooking for me from an Ayurvedic perspective is almost like a full circle moment in my life and career with this. When I first came to Ayurveda, it's over 20 years ago now. I had been really, really sick on a physical level, on a hormonal level, on a mental level. The storm, I was in the heat of a storm in my life on all levels. And when I first was introduced to Ayurveda, it was an attempt to try to stay away from having to be like either heavily medicated, which was my fear, or being dismissed by, the medical field or whatever. I was afraid of what was going to possibly be my path there. And I thought, well, this Ayurveda thing that I had heard about a year before, maybe I'll give that a try. So I found one of Vajra Mishra's teachers, which is at Kanyakumari, where Pat was teaching. Wasn't quite teaching yet at that time there. She was probably still up in either Minneapolis, I think, or possibly even still teaching for California College of Ayurveda at the time. But the owner and practitioner of Kanyakumari was my first practitioner, Cheryl Silberman, and I just did the whole thing, the whole consultation, went through all aspects of my life. It was probably a good 2-hour conversation with lots of tears on my end, but heard and understood let's get at the root cause of this. And one of the biggest things was food. And how was I using food? I felt so out of control everywhere else in my life. Food was one thing I found I could start controlling, which is a higher pitta person, which means, I've got a lot of fire in me is one thing we like to do is have control sometimes. But ultimately, I think that's, at least somewhere I could find some calmness and stillness in my life and allow myself to stay focused there. And within 30 days, I couldn't believe how much better I felt. My anxiety went from OCD panic attacks down to, sporadic moments, lost 10 pounds. My hormones over the next 3 to 6 months, I was going in perimenopause in my 30s and I went out of perimenopause and back into normal rhythm. And then I just started realizing that, okay, I kind of see it as, life can feel like you're in a storm, but I had to create the eye of that storm within myself. And that's that calmness and that state of being able to look at and how am I going to interact with the world around me in a different light.
And isn't it amazing the people that we meet along the way and help us? It's pretty cool.
I'm sure we've probably been in communes together as yogis and teachers and friends and community many a lifetime. And now I look at food now as a connection with the divine too. We talk about the word yoga meaning to yoke or to union, to reunite with that sense of oneness with the divine. And I can't think of really a lot of other things in our lives that is as profound of an example of how that happens as how we take in nourishment through food and how it can no longer be anything but our own self again. You know?
Remember when Pat used to always give the pen thing? She'd say, "Here's a carrot, and I eat the carrot, and the carrot becomes me."
Mm-hmm.
She'd always get her little pen out and talk about the carrot. This is, I'm going to eat this carrot. This is what I'm going to be made up of.
Yeah, that
And
carrot will never be a carrot again, and you will never be you before that carrot again.
That's right. So if this is some nasty thing off the street, then I'm going to eat that thing. We're privileged. We can talk this way.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I definitely have a lot of gratitude for the fact that I am able to use this knowledge and have resources to get those carrots and those other ingredients and foods to take care of myself. But that also then gives me a chance then to be in a healthy state of mind, to be present with it and be able to bring it forward to others too. I think that kind of, that's part of the circle too.
And we should never forget that.
Yeah.
We don't understand why things are the way they are necessarily.
Yeah.
But we're very fortunate.
Yeah.
So Carol wanted to, if either Sheila or Carly want to ask any questions. Otherwise, Carol's going to give a little tutorial about how to interact on the school thing.
Yeah, I would love to hear from Sheila or Callie. What's bringing you to our little group here? And
there's Sheila.
Well, I love all things involved with Kathleen and you, Carol. So anything, I'm appreciative of incorporating the food perspective of Ayurveda and the hands-on approach to learning. Because you can read all the things, but then the doing is where it's learned. So I feel that would be more helpful for me to incorporate a live program with cooking, even if it's, 2 simple recipes that I can incorporate every week, something that I can learn to do. That is much more helpful for me than to, pick up a book or, attend a seminar and then not actually learn how to do it. So it's just sort of that real application.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's been cool. And it's been a lot of my experience too, is where you can study all the texts and read all the books and learn all the qualities of the food and what they're supposed to do for you and this and that and how to, combine them and all of that. But until you really and take it in for yourself, almost like create your own lab within yourself, you really don't get that chance to really understand what the knowledge is. You become your own inner guru in that sense with it.
Yeah.
You and the food become gurus to each other. And
there's so much information and it's just so overwhelming.
Yeah. And I do try to, that's one of my goals is like, let's try to keep it simplified. We should take it in bite sizes too, possibly, trying to absorb too much at once kind of can clog things up and make it even more confusing and overwhelming too. Right? Creates ama, as we say in Ayurveda, which is digestible. If it's too much, it's undigestible.
Yes. For sure.
All right. Thanks for sharing, Sheila. Callie, do you want to share? I'm so happy to see you here.
Hi, I'm happy to be here, and I'm very excited to start a new journey. I do apologize for the background noise. I'm kind of listening to this like a podcast as I drive home. But I really love what you said about you have to create the eye of the storm within yourself. Because I think that's very true. All these outside factors are still going to be here. And it's really just having to find that peace in the journey within yourself. And I'm very excited to start learning about all of this from you both.
Wonderful. Thanks, Callie. So little
Yay.
background. Callie and I work together outside this
Nice.
little community, and she's just a little gem herself and
Nice.
has great spirit. And yeah, yeah, I tell her so quite often, or if not often enough, that she just uplifts people around her too, just with her positive attitude and just sees things in that light too. So awesome, awesome. Thanks for sharing. Yes, I thought it would be a good opportunity. I know this community tool that we're using is not just new to Kathleen and I, it's probably new to a lot of us. It's actually relatively a new tool, even on the marketplace. Um, I like it from the standpoint that it is something that we can divinely design any way we want and like what we want to do with it, how we want to interact with it, what kind of things we want to bring together in the community. But it's also not just about Kathleen and I pushing information out on there or creating conversations and all of that. It's really open for everybody to even start conversations or sharing things, or even a great place to come and ask us questions or inquiries as to, hey, I've been experiencing this, or I had this thought or idea, or I'm having something going on that I want to learn more about from an Ayurveda or yoga perspective. It's a great place that not only do you get an opportunity to learn from and get that knowledge from Kathleen and I, everybody else can chip in or also benefit from something that most likely if one person has a question, somebody else does too. So really wanted to show how to really get in here and work with it and interact with our tool so that we can see what's going on. So actually, let me just take a quick minute before I do that. I have got so many things open on my desktop right now that I just want to make sure I get the right one here. There we go. Okay. So the tool's called Skool, Skool. For all of you that are members already, you have two levels of membership. You can, be a part of the community as a standard member, giving you access to all the things we chit chat about, all the posts that we have, and you can interact with anything inside this community tab that is available. So we'll put out here, and you'll see it kind of interacts like Facebook. But the nice thing is that you don't have to worry about algorithms sending you stuff you don't want to see. It's only going to be us and our content. And you can search in here if there's a topic you're interested in. We also have these topics that we've created. So if you want to just see what's going on in general, you can go here in the yoga section. Kathleen will probably be spending most of her time in here, starting to share more thoughts of wisdom. So like even that reading from that awareness or that message from Mary that you shared can go here. She's starting to share things from her one of her other senior teachers, Ramanan Patel. So we can do that. From an Ayurveda standpoint, I had everything under cooking initially, and I thought, well, there's going to be a good opportunity to probably break that into those nuggets on Ayurveda and how to, if I come across people that I'm sharing information with all the time, and it could be a place for me to just share some wisdom or nuggets there. And then specifically around cooking, this can tie to things that we're doing in the cooking classes, sharing tips or recipes, or even nuggets of knowledge around how we can do cooking differently. And then sadhanas. So this might be a little bit of a different or a new word for some of us. Sadhana is a sense of, here, as Kathleen put it so well, a deep known desire and daily action taking towards what one seeks in the spiritual realm. So another way of saying this is our practices that we take on a daily level basis to lead ourselves into better knowing ourselves. And ultimately that goal is to knowing ourselves on that spiritual level. So our goal here is in due time and probably sooner than later is to start coming up with different sadhanas. Other groups may call them challenges, but challenges sounds like it's a fight against resistance, which, sadhanas are a discipline. So we thought we'd use this concept of sadhana. We're all sadhakas practicing these disciplines of yoga and Ayurveda. We can work on whether that's one thing I'll be teaching this Saturday or Sunday at the cooking class is about morning rituals to prepare ourselves for digesting our first meal of the day and the day as a whole. Starts with our breakfast. So that can be a sadhanas. Let's do a week-long sadhana of these morning rituals. And we have many, many more ideas in place. So if you have ideas, you can ask and share them in here too. We'd be happy to interact with what you'd want to learn as well, of course. Little gems, these can be, of course, if you have like a quote that you come across, or a teaching that you've heard, or even just a nugget of knowledge that you think would elevate people's day. It's a great thing to put in here. Everybody's welcome to contribute to this. And then resources. We'll slowly keep adding resources on here as to where can you get the things you need to support you on these sadhana practices, the yoga practices, the Ayurveda, the cooking, and things like that throughout the community as well. Easy way of doing it, you can just go right in here at the top, write something when you're logged in. It'll come up with your name directly. You can title it, you can write something, you can choose which topic you want to go to. Have fun with it. Put in a GIF, put in an emoji, link a YouTube video or something, or to a post. We'll then react to it. The fun thing about this, there is a little bit of a opportunity to, I guess you can call it, gamify this tool. So you'll see like we have these levels, and on the leadership board, we're in the process, we're going to name these. And as you work through the levels, we're also going to be creating materials that we can share so that as you engage more, we can encourage by giving more too. Kathleen and I are both big givers, but we thought this would be a way to encourage some of that engagement beyond what we're giving, have some extra incentives. So we'll see as people move around and react in here. As you move up levels, will be things like in the classroom here that we'll be starting to add in here and allow for you to just access based on the level that you've reached. So if you like things, if you like people's posts, that gives people points. If you comment, that gives people other opportunities to like and comment on yours, and that just helps keep the community happy and healthy and engaged with each other. And that's how you get moved up the leadership board. So classroom. So right now we do have the monthly yoga classes and cooking classes. These are at the premium level. So if you want to move into the premium level, you really can just log into the academy, click on the classroom itself, and you'll actually, if you're not a premium level, or in your standard member, it'll say unlocks with premium. If you click on it, it'll let you just change that level to automatically. But once you're in that level, you then have access to all the classes that we've created. And we do live each month, we record them. And the beautiful thing is they're available to you as long as you're in the community. Every month we add to the library, and you can come back to the ones that you need on the day that you need more twists. You can come back and do that twisting class. If you need a good recipe to, just start out the day with like a khichdi. We've got our royal khichdi in there. I know, it's one of the most requested meals. And here, the calendar will have all of our events listed. So you'll see like this Saturday is going to be the next live yoga and cooking class. We're going to be covering Surya Namaskar. And
Sunday.
Sunday, yes, Sunday. If I keep saying Saturday, my apologies. I guess I'm wishing it was Saturday starts the weekend, but it's Sunday. And then I'll be talking about breakfasts and how we start the day out with breakfast and then from an Ayurvedic perspective. And then we do have classes for February and March already planned. We have all the dates already starting to put out here. I'm just out to March so far. We'll be doing heart-centered yoga and heart-centered meals in February since we're doing the class on that Sunday after Valentine's Day. And in March, we have strong shoulders and homemade flatbreads. So if you've ever wanted to make a roti or a chapati or a parantha, that is the class to come to. We are a group mostly right now in the community of women. Shoulders tend to be a weaker area of our body just by the nature of how we move through the world. So this will be a great class to help bring that balance to strong shoulders as well.
Carol,
Yeah.
I think we might add something on there because when you were talking about being a group of mostly women, the women carry so much. I think it may add something to that title. We're already pretty strong. It's, I would say,
Yeah. So
amazingly strong.
Very resilient.
Resilient shoulders will change it. Strong and resilient.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
just an aside.
Absolutely. You can see all the members that are here, and you want to interact with each other on a one-on-one basis. There are opportunities to go into the chat as well and interact with people individually. We just ask you do that obviously respectfully. This is kind of a fun tool. We can see where everybody is around the world and where they are coming from as part of our community. So what's kind of cool already, as much as like Kathleen and I started this really helping pull together our two communities that are from the Milwaukee, Chicago area and what I'm building here now in Asheville where I'm at, we're in Mexico, we're in Latin America, we're in Northwestern Africa of all things. We've got people that are, kind of scattered around the world, and it's kind of neat to see how this, world can be connected from so far away yet seems so close. So we talked about the leadership board a little bit. Like I said, this will be, we'll be upgrading and changing this. We've definitely taken a leap of taking action when we did in October, long before we had everything figured out of what we want to do here. But, the best action is to take action in that respect of getting started. And of course, there's an About Us page. This really is what you land on when you first come to interact with the community and make that decision if you want to join us. So it talks a little bit about, like Kathleen, she's been running the Garden of Yoga, which is a yoga studio in LaGrange, Illinois for 20 plus years, right?
23 or 24 there. That's in addition to several other schools that I helped found.
Wow.
I've been teaching in the Chicago area since 1983.
Wow.
And the western suburbs, and around.
Yeah.
But we've been in LaGrange for, I don't know, somebody remembered. I've got the original lease. It's not important. About 23.
Yeah, what's important is that's where I first met you, was at that studio, and
Yay!
maybe even Sheila too.
Yep.
There you go. And Sheila and I met together at the first time in an ashram and ended up being roommates for a weekend. And
Oh, that great. That's
that was
so
a good
great.
one.
So we should close soon, Carol, because
Yes,
we're
absolutely. So yeah, we can definitely close. So feel free. We encourage you to play around in the community, interact with us, interact with each other, share your nuggets, share your ideas, share your wishes of what you want for Kathleen and I to bring forth. But ultimately, our goal is to continue building this out to be more than just the live yoga and Ayurveda classes each month. We do want to bring the sadhanas together and help show that. We do want to also bring in a little bit more focus around pulling it all together, I think is a way of saying it, where what is the yoga and the Ayurveda 101 and how do you start interacting or integrating these practices in your own life and experiencing your own sense of enlightenment, bliss, balance, and all of that. So that, taking what's in the classes and then actually expanding on where's the source of all of this, and then some of the knowledge behind that. So we have ideas around that as well. So that's forthcoming, and we are actively working on it, but we definitely want to just keep the wheels that we have on this bus rolling as they are and just keep adding more onto it. Anything to share on that, Kathleen?
No,
All right. Well,
I'm good.
good. Well, Sheila and Kelly, if there was anything that you would want to see more of or see start in the community, what would it be?
Thank you so much for the quick tour because I didn't realize those buttons existed on the top where they were separated. So I'll definitely poke around in there. Just I like all those little pieces when it's compartmentalized. It works better for keeping things organized. So that's helpful. Um, I'm really excited about just um, the pranayama pieces, the subtleties, um, like the nuggets of getting through your own practice, week to week, and what you can incorporate in little digestible bits. Um, and the quick wins for the cooking that are not too overwhelming. Um, I'd like to try to establish a couple of simple recipes that I can have my family eat that are, I can try my best with getting them to eat some things. But I think definitely like the flatbreads and things like that is something that I could incorporate with, 3 fussy eaters.
Yeah, and that's one thing I've experienced a lot in the past with working with people that are new to Ayurveda, that maybe the rest of the household doesn't want to eat that way.
Yeah. Yes.
And, a lot of what we cook as meals from an Ayurvedic perspective can be like a side dish for them. So you kind of
Mm-hmm.
slowly introduce it to them. Um, so that's been my biggest win on that respect is just, okay, you cook what you're going to have, and that's your main meal, but it can be a side to the rest of the family because it's
Yeah.
very plant-based for the most part. And it still has some healthy proteins in there, which may be what their argument may be that, nope, where's the
Always.
protein? Yeah,
Yes.
it's in there.
Yeah.
So that
Thank
might be a
you.
quick win right there.
Yep.
All right. I know you're probably in the car, Kelly, so if you want to share, you
Thank
can.
you,
Otherwise,
Sheila.
I know I'll catch you another day too.
Well, thank you both. This was so
Yeah,
fun.
thank you.
Yeah, this was awesome. I appreciate getting to listen to it. And I was going to say, I'm very excited to try out some of the recipes and see what is gastroparesis safe. Since there really isn't like a huge community about the illness because of how specific it is to each person. I'm very excited to try out these recipes and be able to add them to the repertoire because much that we found quite yet that is gastroparesis safe. So I'm excited to find those.
Perfect.
Thank you, Kelly.
Yes, thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Sheila. Thank you, community. I know that not all of you can make it live, but this will be recorded and on our websites outside of the community as well as inside the community. And we invite you to watch it and get engaged. we'll look forward to seeing you at the cooking classes and the yoga classes very soon, including in another couple of days.
Okay, see you Sunday.
Yep, we'll see you Sunday,
Adios.
everybody.
Bye.
Adios.
Have a good day.